You look back, guys, at January 25th, right? And that's the morning where everyone was anticipating because the rumors were coming out, the reports were coming out about who was going to get the Falcons job. And I don't know about you, Maria, I don't know about you, Jarvis, but it was exciting for me that it was even a coveted position, right?
Right.
And it started off with Bill Belichick being the de facto coach. Like there's no conversation about it. The Falcons are just going through the rigmarole of interviewing 13, 14 candidates, and they're just making sure they check the box for the Rooney Rule, so on and so forth. Like everybody was so over it until a couple days before the hire was actually announced. And you started hearing rumors that maybe they were going to go in a different direction, right? Whether that was McDonald, whether it was Slovic, or whether that was Morris. But Bill Belichick's name continued to go down, down, down as far as the rankings go. Now, as of that morning, he still thought that was his job to have. But as we found out a little bit later, Raheem Morris was the actual choice. And now we're finding out more details about exactly how things started to unravel and how we got in the situation or the position where Bill Belichick is now an analyst for the NFL as opposed to the head coach for the Falcons or any other franchise. So, Jarvis, I ask you the question, does the non-hiring of Bill Belichick make more sense? Or now, since some of those details have come out, is it more confusing for you?
No, it makes all the sense in the world because here's the thing. I feel like, the Falcons really mean that whole collaborative piece. I think that's not something that Terry Fontenot came up with or Raheem Morris. That is an organizational edict from coming down from the top, right? Which is Arthur Blank. So I think when you think about it from that standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world because I know that, some of the people that were close to Bill Belichick said that, hey, he was willing to give up general manager duties, but at the end of the day, like the man's 71 years old. He
Now
is.
72.
I'm not 72. He's not necessarily. I'm not gonna sit up here and say that he's not willing to change, but you have to understand that he likes things done a certain way, and he's won 8 Super Bowls, 6 as a head coach and 2 as a defensive coordinator for the Giants. So it's hard to kind of go against that, right? People are going to concede, and then eventually and then the thing that was making me throw up if they would have hired Bill Belichick is the fact that he was going to bring all them old raunchy assistants in, Joe Judge and
Not throw up.
I know, right? I'm still on throw up. Oh, and the most failed former assistant of his
and Josh McDaniel.
Josh McDaniel. I knew that's who you're talking about. The most failed
Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
What? Like all of those guys, for a fact they would have come with him, and that's the part that I don't like because that's why I feel like he wouldn't have been willing to change because of those instances because everybody knows, and he even said it. A source even said it himself that he was going to bring his guys, and he was hoping somewhere on the East Coast that he was going to get hired because hey, I want to bring my guys, so it won't be too much to move their families around. So for me, I feel like this made a lot more sense because it makes sense that the Falcons brass, the team wasn't interested in bringing Bill Belichick in. As a matter of fact, they weren't even on his top 3. So like this brings it all home for me.
Yeah. And what about you, Maria?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that all of this was coming. I knew it was gonna out eventually. And I think the most telling quote in this article was he was essentially voted off the island.
Yes.
And it proves, I know, it's like, it's giving Survivor.
Yes.
It's giving Mean Girls.
Right.
Literally. But, it's more indicative that it is a collaborative effort by the Falcons, kind of what, like what you were talking about, Jarvis, which I think is a good thing. And I think it means that you have support from other people when it came to hiring Raheem. And you want that support from your coaches. You want that input. At the end of the day, it is the NFL. It's not necessarily a collaborative, friendly business. So at the end of the day, they're going to make decisions that benefit their franchise. So it was a little bit refreshing to read and reiterate the fact that they did take into account what other people in the building felt. And it's not really surprising in the sense that the age was one of the biggest factors and why a lot of these people didn't want him in the building. Look at all the other finalists of this island, right? They're all young. So it's all people that if they're successful early on, can be with your franchise for a long period of time. A 72-year-old being there for 5 years isn't really very realistic. And then you're starting over, and Arthur Blank's already annoyed enough that he's at this point in his ownership career that he wants people to be successful right now. So none of that is surprising to me. I did know that he did want to bring his guys in. I was reporting that throughout the Belichick process that some of his guys were already calling the coaching staff. And so I think that worried everybody too. It's some of those names that you mentioned that people were really nervous about coming and being a part of Atlanta. So I think everyone kind of wanted a fresh start, and Bill Belichick gives you that to a point. You kind of already know what you were getting. So the essentially voted off the island quote is the funniest thing I've ever read in my life. But no, not surprised at all.
No, and I would agree. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't confused. The article was just confirmation of a couple of things. Number one, I figured that one more call to Robert Kraft happened, and that call was not glowing. And we're starting to see that with so many different little, not just news reports. I heard it from one of the beat reporters in New England on a 92.9 interview. Then we're kind of seeing things play out with some of the, what is it, like a docuseries or something that Tom Brady's doing. And it's kind of giving it's giving disconnect at so many levels. And then going back to the young piece, I think it's not even just that Bill Belichick's older. He's 72 years old.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll is 72 years young. And so it also depends on how you approach the game. That's how Pete Carroll was able to be so successful up until he's not successful, because he was able to really connect with players. It seemed very clear that Bill Belichick was not connecting with his players, nor seemed to have any interest in really connecting with his players over that last couple of years. And then at the press conference, Raheem Morris's introductory press conference, it was very, very clear that, and I overheard someone say, no, seriously, he was the unanimous choice. He was the top choice. And then someone called me like weeks after that. There was a private event that Arthur Blank had with some luminaries, some longtime Falcons ticket holders and the like. They said the same thing. They said he was the number one choice, and everything about how it shifted to him and how Bill Belichick in part shifted it because of all the things we just said, but how Raheem ended up shifting it himself. That's exactly what that person said when they called. They were like, that article just resonates completely. It makes perfect sense. And I think that hopefully some of these naysayers who've been thinking that Raheem Morris was some type of consolation gift when the Falcons couldn't get who they wanted. No, that's not the case at all. Falcons could have gotten exactly who they wanted if they wanted Bill Belichick. But I always felt like they made the right decision. I always felt like they made it for the right reasons. And I do believe, Maria, to your point, if I'm going to go with somebody who has success and somebody who can bring that success forward with me, I'm going with the young guy who I know is successful, has been successful over here, but has even been more successful than since he's left. Bring that all back to me. So yeah, like you guys said, not confused, just confirmed. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit as well about all of the success that the Braves are having because of one guy that we knew was going to come through in the beginning and one guy who might have surprised us all when we come back.